Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Do you have to do that right as I'm starting, Ivy? Come on now. Well, you've been playing back there the entire time. I have a very busy evening, so I kind of want to make this brief. I apologize if I rush through questions. I'm aiming for about 35 minutes on the video. Real quick, before we do that, though, I do have my 10-year partnerversary on Twitch tomorrow, and I'm going to be doing... I think I'm going to be live for like 14 or 15-ish hours. Going to be going through some old Twitch clips. Going to be opening 12,000 Eureka lock boxes as a little homage to that clip from some time ago. Might do some shiny hunting, as I posted a bunch of clips on that from Twitch as well, including the shiny Palkia one, which was like 2,700 attempts, and I'm not optimistic about Dialga at all. Yeah, just going to be celebrating 10 years of partner on Twitch, which is not something a lot of people get to say and still be doing it full time. So I'm glad to have that opportunity, and I'm quite grateful for it. Much like my 10-year anniversary on YouTube last year, I can only do that because people enjoy what I do. And so thanks for enjoying it. But anyway, I want to get into the Q&A. Thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. Appreciate you all. You don't have to support. It's all optional. You know, as long as you enjoy my videos, that's good enough for me. But I appreciate any of you who go the extra mile. Anyway, with that, let's get into the Q&A. Hashtag Mrhappy days. Oh my goodness, Ivy has the mega zoomies right now. Hello, hi. May your last weekend of May be enjoyable. I have you questions too. I don't know if that was intentional, but I'll take it. One, you've mentioned that your primary concern about monk changes are recovery from death. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see how the changes impact recovery that much. It's basically a really poorly timed death. It means having to just collect the orbs again. And we don't really know how that's going to impact the actual rotation in any capacity. In reality, it shouldn't really do much of anything. But until we actually get to experience it, it's just an unknown. I guess that's it. I'm only labeling an unknown. And two, what are your thoughts on the letter from the producer live format? Do you enjoy the off-the-cuff nature? Or do you sometimes wish they do something more prepared? Oh, they're completely prepared. They know exactly what they're going to talk about. They just add in idle banter, which I love. I like it. Makes it feel more personable. And even though I can't understand the language, I'd rather the devs look like they're having fun instead of looking like robots. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hello. Hi. Hope things are well. Doing good. My question is about the new combo action stacking. I don't understand how or why people cannot want this in the game. Personally, I don't think hitting 1, 2, 3 is more engaging or better than hitting 1, 1, 1. Personally, I'm a controller player and would love having action buttons condensed a bit. Just wanted to hear your side. I definitely prefer to have the buttons kind of separated from each other. I do personally find it more engaging than pressing the same button over and over again. Makes me think about my hotbar real estate, makes me think about my actual dexterity on my keyboard, or in your case, the controller. But that's a matter of personal preference. That's all there really is to it. I do think some skills deserve to be combined. I don't think this is a universal thing, but the basic combo for me, I think it's fine to just do it the way that it is. Hashtag Mrhappy Hyundai. Nice. Howdy haps. Hi, and hello to those who forget. None so far. You talked about how you started by cutting off some eating habits. What were they, and how did you go about tackling them? In college, I cut out milk and sugar and coffee, and I cut out soda. My biggest thing was, believe it or not, just not buying them. That's how I've cut anything I really want out of my diet. Like if I buy a snack, it's with the intention of budgeting what I eat around said snack so I can enjoy it. Now, I don't think anyone has to get nearly as specific as that. Like I've got a big box of goldfish right here and I love them. They're relatively low in the things that I don't need as long as I eat them, you know, kind of piecemeal. It's 25 servings total. It's 5 grams of fat per serving and 4 grams of protein and 19 grams of carbs. No added sugars, and the fats are actually pretty decent. It's 1.5 grams polyunsaturated, 2.5 monounsaturated. Those are good fats for those of you who don't know. So even then, like looking at a snack like that, I still just eat it properly. I keep it around, but if I don't want to just casually binge on something like that, then I just don't buy it. That's true of most junk foods. That's true of most kind of like easy TV dinner style, like frozen foods, or like, you know, pizzas and stuff like that you can buy and heat up really easily. I don't buy fast food pretty much at all. It's honestly more of a matter of changing my spending habits than my eating habits, because by naturally changing my spending habits, I'm able to change my eating habits. It's kind of like how my dad, when he quit smoking to keep himself from going back to it, every time he thought about buying a pack, he'd put the money in a jar. And then when he would see that he had like hundreds of dollars more than he would normally have within a month, he's like, oh, I don't need the cigarettes. It's kind of the same thing. I just don't put the money in the jar. You know, I don't spend less. I just spend it on things that are better for me. Bananas, almonds, meats, vegetables, you know, things that are more natural for me to consume and not Doritos and ice cream and things like that, or sodas. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Good morning and hope your week is going well. Hello and good morning. I know you don't like speculating new jobs. I sure don't. But I'm hoping you can indulge me on this. Beast Mess. Oh, it's not even a real job. That's fine. It's an upcoming limited job. Guessing around 7.3 or later. I was going to guess 7.45 at the earliest. What is your personal desire? Monster collection is, of course, wanted. I just hope the battle system will be less like Blue Spellbook. Honestly, I don't think what I want will happen. I just want it to be Pokemon. Straight up, give me a monster, give it 4 attacks, let me turn-based battle other people, and most importantly, let me look for shinies. And not like the Island Sanctuary shinies where it's like, oh, you know, it's 6 a.m. when it's raining, it's always there, and you just have to hope you catch it. No, I want to go out, and I want to have a 1 in 4,000 chance of seeing a shiny, unless I do some weird stuff like I chain them together, and then I get a better chance, and then I have the rare shiny, and not that many people have it. I want that. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Sup, Haps. Hello. We've seen the job action trailers for Dawn Trail, and we've seen a bunch of jobs lost their damage and gap closer, and I gotta admit the loss of skills like Plunge and Spine Shatter feel awful. How'd you feel if these gap closers retain their damage, but if actions themselves are made to be non-responsive to raid buffs? It doesn't really change anything. So if they're non-responsive to raid buffs, you still have to use them when they're capped. You're never gonna sit on, you know, 2 Spine Shatters or 2 Plunges because you don't need to use them. As long as they have potencies, they're part of your rotation one way or the other. Could you more strategically save them and use them as gap closers? Sure, but you still are going to use them for that damaging aspect and not just for their gap closing aspect. Now, obviously they're okay with that on some jobs. They really only wanted to reduce the busy work of these skills during buff windows, which your thing does address. But I do think there is still a fundamental issue with it. But I'm not against it. I don't care if they have some gap closers with damage on them and some that aren't. I'm only labeling to you what kind of the general problem is. I'd be okay if repelling shot still had damage on it. I don't care. Just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. You know, I'm not that particular. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi. You said you've worried that Viper's job identity might just be all about its weapon. How do you feel about Gunbreaker in this regard? To me, it feels like Gunbreaker is just person with gunblade. Since Yoshi P has said the next expansion they might be looking on focusing on the identities of each job more, how do you think this affects classes whose identity is mostly their weapon? Where do you see them take Viper and Gunbreaker? You know what's a big thing with Viper? Having looked back at the live letter a bunch, honestly, this is really petty. All of their abilities on their hotbar look like the same ability. Like, I'm so bored looking at the hotbar that it's kind of strange. Like, they remind me of like a Realm Reborn actions. In fact, Momo tweeted me an old image of what the ninja hotbars looked like back in like 2.4. And I'm like, you know what? That's right. It does really look like a Realm Reborn hotbars. But when it comes down to it, I think the way that Gunbreaker is expressed is just done better. You're right. It is 100% about the gunblade. And, you know, in that sense, it's pretty much the same as Viper. But the way that they actually express using the gunblade in both their ability appearances and the wide functions that they have, naturally being a tank, that has to happen. It gives them a lot more. I mean, Super Bolide is just them essentially sucking their entire life down to, you know, 1 HP, but making themselves invincible. Like, that's all they're doing is just, that's like a massive ether loaded bullet, incoming Persona 3 memes to go with it. There's just more personality in there than I have 2 swords and those 2 swords combined into one big sword. I don't know. I think it's just a fundamental thing about the weapons that they've actually chosen and how they're expressed. And like, you could honestly just tell me that Viper has a completely different weapon, and when I'm watching their animations go off, I probably believe you like 80% of the time, because I can't even see that they're really a dual sword wielder. So it just kind of seems kind of lost on me. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. Longtime viewer of the channel, first time commenter. Welcome. Very excited for Picto, and the new static I'm in asked me to go caster for the group after being forced for other groups to go Fizz range for 2 expansions. I know that life. And excited now to get back to playing a caster. I'd like to go through DT story as Picto and was wondering what would be the fastest way to get Picto to 90. So the fastest way would be to get 3 other friends, at least 1 tank and 2 DPS, preferably if the tank is a warrior, or, you know, the old tank healer 2 DPS, and to blast through dungeons. You want to have a Wondrous Tale saved up so you get an instant half of a level. You then want to do 1 leveling roulette, and I think you might also need a tribal quest, but those should largely cover all you need to get to 81, and then you would blast through the dungeons 2 levels at a time. If you don't have that, your other options are to solo queue into Eureka Orthos, or to go to Zadnor Zone 3 in Bozia, since it's likely to be more populated than the Southern Front, because people really like AFKing, and to kind of slowly grind out there. If you do the dungeon spamming, 4 hours is the approximate time if it's a decent group. If you're doing EO, I think it's probably closer to 6 to 8. And if you're doing Zadnor, it's around 8 to 10. It's not the greatest, but those are some of your options if you are just looking for a few different ones to go into the start of the expansion. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello and a hey. Question about the Fox Hollows Mountain minions. I believe you mentioned once you make bank selling them. Oh yeah. During 6.3 and 6.4, the mounts are going for 8 and the minions for 3. I've never seen the minions go for 3 million gil. Ever. I don't know what minion you were looking at because I've never seen that. Nowadays, they're going for 12 and 8 mil. That is closer to what I see now. Do you expect the prices to fall or rise with DT? As a prospective buyer, should I buy now? There will be 0 supply for 4 months when Dawn Trail comes out. 7.0 to 7.1, anything that is on that board is going to get expensive. If not, it's at least going to be around what it is now and not get cheaper. I mean, if there's demand and no supply, you know what that means. In 7.1, it should equalize a little bit more when people can earn points again. But yeah, if you really want to buy them for cheap, you want to buy them you either want to wait till after 7.1, which even is its own risk, because as more and more rewards get added, then the number of rewards people are buying spreads out, and then that lowers demand of any individual item. So it kind of depends, but I think now or after 7.1 will be cheaper, definitely cheaper than buying from 7.0 to 7.1. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. I'm curious why we haven't heard anything about the game server since the cloud server test. With launch only about a month away, I'm still nervous about login queues and server stability. So regardless of the fact that they did a test, it's not like they're suddenly going to make all of our servers cloud servers. That's not how it works. At most, what they would have is something similar to the Materia situation, where you could probably transfer to the cloud server and get off of your home world in order to find a place with lower population and to have a better queue. But even if they changed all of our current servers to cloud servers, there's no guarantee that would fix any potential issue. The only thing I really saw was that my ping to the East Coast wasn't that bad from a West Coaster. Definitely better than the East Coasters coming to the West Coast now on the physical servers. But they probably gathered data, and now they need to actually go through all the proper channels. They can't just be like, oh, we had that test, great, now let's just do it. There's probably a lot more that goes into it, especially in terms of budgeting and all that. We know that their fiscal report has been a hot topic in the past few weeks as well. So I wouldn't expect to hear anything about this for, honestly, probably about another year. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Long-time watcher, first-time asker. Welcome. Something that always bothered me is the wording they decided to use for the roll action Bloodbath. It specifies that converts a portion of physical damage into health. However, this causes inconsistencies most exclusively with Ninja. As well as I noticed here, you said Reaper's Gluttony, Harvest Moon, and Communio. Majority of Ninja's damage is magic, coming in the form of Jutsus, Raijus, and Baba, with none of these moves providing healing for Bloodbath. Feels pretty unfair given even Dragoon's Dragonfire dive gets healing because that move is specified as a fire-based attack. Well, yeah, it's fire-based, obviously. It's not fire-aspected, which means that it's a physical fire attack. Think this would ever get changed? I've been suffering since Stormblood. Given you have Shade Shift and Dragoon has... what is it? Nothing. I don't think Dragoons would very much be like, yeah, you know what? Give Ninja even more survivability. You know, you just look at Monk, right? And you're like, that's crazy. You know, they got all that physical damage, you know, whatever. And then you look at Reaper, and they've got the barrier. So they're just like, honestly, I don't even think about it when it comes to Bloodbath. I'm just doing my Enshroud stuff. And then you look over at, what's it called? Dragoon, and they're like, I don't have a defensive. Don't look at me. I'll take whatever I can get. And then you look over at Samurai, and they're just like, heck yeah, this is so much. Then Ninja's just like, well, at least I have Shade Shift. Honestly, I don't really care. Should they? Yes. Realistically, they should. Does it really matter? No, I don't think it does. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. As a small streamer, Dawn Trail's early access seems like a good opportunity to do something like a 24-hour stream to get some more viewers. Back when you were just starting out, what types of things did you do to stand out from the rest? I was just early. I was before everyone else. I was talking about this game when nobody cared. That was literally it. And to that note, I'll say, a game's early access / launch is the worst time to try to get more viewers for multiple reasons. One, a lot of people are just playing the game. They're not watching Twitch, not watching live streams. Number two, if you don't already have a following, then most people are going to go to the people who do have a following to learn about the expansion. You really have to try to either grow all at, you can grow all at once during a launch, but you have to do something substantial. And it can't just be a fun little idea. It needs to be something incredible. Give you a great example. I love using this creator as an example. Miss Mika, who also I think just cleared through the highest difficulty in Elden Ring, meaning I think it's New Game +7 as a level 1 character. She just did that. She's done stuff like that to stand out before. When Elden Ring was new, she beat it on a dance pad. That was significant. It got a lot of traction, and she's been doing great ever since. And she's continued to find ways to innovate on playing through not just that, but other games as well. That was significant. But like doing something like, you know, I don't know, like personally, I don't know. I don't even have a good example of like what's like a not good idea, because really any idea technically can work. But don't use like, oh, I'm just going to play when the game is at its hottest and that will be better for me. Because if you don't do anything that stands out, it's not going to make a difference. That's just the honest truth. Hashtag happy with 5 Dawn Trails until Mr. Monday. That's confusing. Bonjour and 3 extra hellos in case people miss him. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. 2 questions. Firstly, where did the whole meme joke, whatever you call it about no hellos, etc. come from? There's not a joke. I was just like, this is bad manners. That's all it was. I was just like, man, that's bad manners to just show up and not say hello. It's just kind of weird. And how did the QA series start? Because I wanted to. That's it. Secondly, you're expecting Valagarmanda to be an actual raid boss or a trial? Oh, a trial. Whenever they show those, there's only been one time that what they showed new threat-wise was not going to be a trial, and that was Endwalker, where they were dungeon bosses instead. The Arcadian is the raid, and they are not giving anything away. They never give anything away about the raids and their bosses. Outside of, I think we got... stuff that's in like the individual patch trailers obviously do, but I mean like for expansion launch, we've never like known what bosses to expect coming from the raid. So no, these are all trial bosses or dungeon bosses. You know, I guess I can say that safely. They're one of the two, but not raids. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Good morning, Haps. Hi, I have a bit of a request. Can you make a video guide on ocean fishing? You know, it's changed a little bit since I did it, but I thought I did do a video. I thought did I not make a video when I got World Class Troller to talk about, like, what I did? I thought I did make that video. I'll give the answer a maybe, but I need to re-educate because with Triple Hook, I don't know what's changed. And I also don't know enough about the new routes either. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Yo, Haps. Hi. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Just got 2 quick questions for you. 1, when does the EX versions of DT Trials drop? On release. As soon as Early Access is out, the Extreme Trials are out. And 2, when are we supposed to save a Wondrous Tales book for the level trick? The week before Early Access. So Early Access starts on June 28th. You want to save the book from the week before, not the book from, what is that, June 24th? 27, 26, 25. Yeah, not the one from the 24th that week. You want the one from the week prior, because then when you hand in the one from the week prior, you can get another one for the week you're currently on. See, that's what you want to do. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hola, Senor Haps. Hello. I just started doing Bosia and Eureka content. Why is Eureka so much busier than Bosia? Are there any lessons to take away from Bosia Eureka that could be applied to Cosmic Exploration content coming in Dawn Trails? So first of all, Cosmic Exploration is not Bosia or Eureka. It's like Ishgard Restoration, so can't draw the comparison there. Number 2, Eureka has far more beneficial rewards to the player in terms of making gil or player engagement or reasons to be in there in the first place. I make way more gil in Eureka, and I feel like I'm way more accomplished doing stuff in Eureka. Bosia, because it is a leveling zone, that immediately gives it its core purpose. But if you are not leveling, none of the things in there are really beneficial to the player in any meaningful capacity. Yes, do you want to complete the notes? Sure, do that, move on. Maybe you want to beat the duels. Great. Maybe you want to work on a relic. Okay, but the majority of people in there are just kind of AFK leveling. So the experience is not aligned. You kind of have to decide your own path. Whereas with Eureka, you're pretty much saying I'm either doing the buns or I'm working on leveling and weapons, which are pretty much in tandem goals. So that's why Eureka is a bit more popular. All of its goals are kind of in tandem with each other, and Bosia's goals are all separated. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Thanks for answering my first question the other week. No problem. As Dawn Trail will be my first attempt at Savage on content and before Echo, any HUD UI settings tips for rating you recommend? Make sure you can see the enemy cast bar, the aggro list, and please make sure you can see your debuffs. That is all I ask of you. Everything else is up to you, but make sure you do those 3 things. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing well. Doing all right. I got a PvP and PvE question interlap. Do you think it would be interesting if some PvP skills were put in PvE? Yeah, I've mentioned that Machinists, the AoE, the turret, the one that pulses, the Bishop turret, that pulses damage. I like that it's this like repeating shield that it gives. Something like that would be cool. The sniper rifle on Machinist is another one that a lot of people really like. Yeah, there's plenty of skills that would be cool. They probably have to be changed around a bit, but they would be cool. Another question regarding glamour, not my specialty. Do you have any thematic predictions for the armor we'd see in Dawn Trail? Oh, I'd have to look at all the trends. I don't know dungeon to gear trends at all, so I'm not educated enough to answer. All right, and because I really want to keep to having a short video, but I see there are a ton of questions still remaining. Apologies, but I am going to lightning around the next several. I'm actually scrolling all the way down and going up from there. Have you ever played Destiny 2 or 1? Yeah, I played Destiny 1. I thought Vault of Glass was really bad, and I had no interest in it after that. It didn't have enough in between the raids to even remotely keep me interested, and I was like, this raid design at core is not... Honestly, I don't even want to see them try to improve it. And I've seen the raid since, and I've yet to be really like engaged or impressed. Maybe like one I thought was pretty cool. What title would you like to see added to DT other than the usual achievement ones? Just not another world-class troller. No universal troller or anything like that. You think Picto and Viper will have top or DSR weapons, or am I in too much copium mode? So the big thing is that in the benchmark, Viper has a Dreadworm and an Omega weapon. So those are like the base raid ones. So the hope is there. I think that's more hopium than we've ever had. But I'm never optimistic because I've literally asked Yoshi P for years. I think at the previous Media Tour I asked. I think at the Shadowbringers one I asked. I swear I've asked him even in between them. And I've never gotten an answer. I've never gotten an answer other than, sure, that sounds like a great idea. So, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Then there was, what do you think of the 14 official forum? Yikes. I like making fun of it, but yikes. Let's see. How do you talk about excitement in regards to job changes when everyone who hates the changes mobs you down with comments like blah, 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 or you only ever did duty roulette? I don't care. I still just state an opinion, and I state that it's not the most important opinion in the room, and, you know, who cares? While we wait for this, what could they possibly talk about in that mid-June live letter? Launch trailer? Any quality of life we don't know about? You know what? I don't remember what they did for the last, like, just before expansion live letter. I would look at that. That would probably be very telling. But the launch trailer and any quality of life they haven't mentioned thus far is like kind of a bare minimum. Maybe a few more things about the characters. I don't know. I feel like we wouldn't get a patch plan until after Dawn Trail released, because that's what they did for Endwalker. After Endwalker released, the next live letter, they talked about like the next 10 years, and among that was literally a patch plan for Endwalker. That wouldn't be till after Dawn Trail's released, though. So I don't know. Those two things at minimum, though. Oh, maybe some PvP stuff. That's possible. We've heard very little about PvP. All we know is that there's PvP. Like that's literally all we've got. We're just like, please wait till 7.1. Let's see. What do you think of the devs removing certain actions and replacing them with shoulder checks? I'm assuming you mean gap closers. I don't really care. I don't care if we have damage on gap closers or don't. I get the frustrations with it, but I'm indifferent. You know, I just play the game as it is, and then I respond to it how it is, and I go, you know, could this be different for this reason, that reason? I'm indifferent. There are some animations like Plunge, though, that I do hate seeing us lose. How do you think PvP is going to change once these new skill reworks are fitted in? It won't matter. PvP has its own skill set. Whatever they want to do in PvP will always be completely separate from PvE, so that won't matter. Do you think that maybe some jobs should get some fixes in the expansion instead of as a featured update for the next expansion, referring to Bard and no target on songs? Yeah, that was one that didn't need to wait that long. I don't know why that needed to wait a whole expansion to get adjusted or fixed. I think it depends on the scope of the change, but that's one that definitely didn't need to wait that long to happen. Then there's one about tank. Let's see. Looks like this is a largely tank-related question, and I'm not a tank. So, you think they could or should gently nudge half the tanks in more of an off-tank direction? No. We used to have that, and it was really toxic for the game. So I don't think we need to go back to being specialized in being an off-tank in any capacity. What do you think about some practice phase X mode? Have you seen the sim? Yeah, people use this online sim to practice specific phases. I'm not really a big fan. It's funny to me because like everyone was like super against and like, so I remember back in T there was the rumor that the World First Group had a sim of some kind to practice later phases, and everyone dogged on them for it. But then the actual sim became a real thing, and it became such a like a staple of like ultimate practice or like late game like Savage phase practice even, that I was like, what happened to how everyone felt before? Why does everyone keep flip-flopping on how they feel about these things? I don't personally like just kind of, I've seen a lot of negative habits with it. For example, people forgetting the earlier phases because they're thinking too much about the phase they just practiced. They don't really balance the idea of practicing playing through a fight. They kind of just learn things in isolation and then have to kind of fill in gaps. And a lot of the times it leads to issues with the earlier phases, but that's on a player-to-player skill basis. I don't think there's any onus on them to add it in the game, but I wouldn't say no at the same time. You know, I'm just not like, yeah, they should do it. I'm like, if they did it, cool. If they don't, you know, honestly, I'm more on that side of it, but I'm one person and what I think isn't really all that relevant. I've heard people say Dawn Trail's make it or break it expansion for 14. That's just people being dumb. You don't listen to those people. It's literally gotten more subscribers, more popular every expansion like ever. So it's like, even if one were to finally dip, it wouldn't even be that big of a deal. No, they don't listen to those people. Why doesn't Machinist have a movement skill yet? I've been saying they should give him like a side roll, like a dodge roll. That would be cool, right? Because they don't need it. I mean, honestly, none of the Fizz range need it. The Dancers is way overkill. But I wouldn't say no to that. I think there will be a new bicolor gemstone. We don't have any precedent to guess that, so I'm going to say no. I think it's going to stay bicolor, and they're not going to go up to, like, tricolor. But it's always a possibility. You know, don't be surprised if it happens, basically. Same with the new Hunt Seal. I don't think they'll do it, but honestly, our precedent is that we got Centurio Seals, 1 expansion after Allied Seals, then Nuts, 2 expansions after Centurio Seals, so now everyone's waiting to see if that's now the pattern, if it's every 2 expansions. I'm indifferent. Doesn't really make a difference to me. Know your prediction for the next gold saucer mount? I don't know. I don't care either. I haven't even bought the last like 2 of them or last 3 of them. How do you think upgraded roll actions will act when synced down? That it'll be like you're synced down. I mean, that's it. They very specifically said during the live letter that the higher levels would have like the swift cast changes and stuff. So that means if you're lower level, you wouldn't have it anymore. You would have, you know, the normal swift cast in that case. Let's see. Someone's been a console gamer for 30 years. It's become kind of easier. Dawn Trail. Trying to retrain myself in the ways of mouse and keyboard. Why? Just keep using controller. You don't need to use a mouse or an MMO mouse or anything like that. I use an MMO mouse. I love my SteelSeries Aerox 9, which you can get by using the link in the description of the video and using the discount code Mrhappy to save 12% year-round. I love this mouse. But if you are comfortable on controller, just play on controller. It's not a debuff to play on controller. How does Q bonus work? If it says tank and I Q as a tank, but it says healer as it pops, do I get the bonus? I think it's from when you Q. You know, I almost never do it. Like, I never do roulettes and get bonuses. So I don't remember. I'm out of date on that information, but I'm pretty sure it's whatever it is when you queue. But fact check me, please. When do you think we'll hear more about Beastmaster? Before 7.45 at some point? Not anytime soon. Let's see. Are there any comments why the quests that were removed from A Realm Reborn weren't made optional? They were probably programmed as MSQ, so it was easier to just flip them on and off than it was to completely retool them into side quests, give them starting NPCs, etc., etc. Especially because those events were mostly tied directly into the things that were happening in the story at the moment. So they'd also probably have to rewrite the stories for those quests, and they're not going to do all of that. With Dawn Trail coming up and having no info on the new exploration zone, are you thinking 0.2 or maybe even 0.3? We wouldn't have information on it. It would not be releasing on launch. That's never happened with an exploration zone. Earliest we've ever seen is 0.1 for Diadem, and, well, 0.15, I should say, and that was yikes. So yeah, 0.25 would be the earliest. That's when Eureka Animos came out. That's when I think they were originally planning to maybe do the Bozia one, but then, you know, the world blew up And that wasn't a thing anymore. So I don't really remember the timing for that pivot. I think they did actually intend for 0.25 to be the solo instance, and that wasn't impacted in any capacity. But yeah, no, 0.25 was always going to be the earliest. And you even mentioned that here. But who knows? But we didn't know anything about Eureka or Bozia until before they came out, like a live letter or two before they came out. So there's no way, there's no pattern to like use to predict all of that. Let's see. How would you think about a passport or sticker page addition to the adventure plate for meaningful achievements? I like that. That's a good idea. If certain achievements gave you a special... See, some people have brilliant ideas. You have a brilliant idea, and I like it. If I ever have the opportunity, I'm passing that along, because that's a good idea right there. Then we have, outside of the 7.0 trailer, what should we expect from next live letter? I answered that earlier. And I think that might be it. No, there's definitely some other ones that I skipped along the way. Somebody asking if PFing Ultimates is viable. Yeah, I know plenty of people who have done it. Somebody in my chat today on Twitch was just like, I beat T in the PF today. And I'm like, nice. Then there was... Do you prefer, like, what spawn method do you prefer for S ranks? I hate the killing ones. It's the only thing I don't like is the kill, like, 100 of 3 different types of enemies one. Hate that. As long as it's not that, I don't really mind. Somebody asked me if I were to pick D&D using a rule set. I don't know the rule sets. I don't even really want to guess. I just always say Monk, because Monk is my favorite kind of identity in, like, most RPGs. So whether it be, you know, barehanded or with a pole arm or something, either way, that works for me. And then there's, I know there was at least one other one that I kind of skipped over. Somebody was asking me a lore question about the elementals in the Shroud. I don't know enough, so it would be irresponsible for me to try and answer. Then there was something about big fishing, which I know nothing about, so I kind of skimmed over it and didn't answer. Which city in 14 is your favorite inn? I've never even been in most of the inns, so I couldn't tell you. Then there was whenever their game crashes whenever they zone into Ultima Thule, but only on their PC and not on their PS5. I have no explanation for that. They said they reinstalled, repaired, ran an admin, whatever. I can't explain that. It sounds like you deleted the game but didn't delete all of the files. When you uninstall a game, it doesn't always automatically uninstall every single file. It might still cache certain things. So that would be my solution, would be to ensure, like, hard delete every single file on the PC, like manually look for them even when you uninstall the game. But that's just me. I couldn't explain otherwise why that would be happening. And then I swear there was at least one more. How would you feel if melee spell combos were changed to be similar to Solo Duty's PvP actions? I think that's over. It doesn't even work for every job. It'd be so selective that, quite frankly, I think it just loses its purpose when it has to be more selective. So not really a huge fan. And was that the last one? Because I know I skipped a handful of other ones. Beastmaster, cutting off eating habits. I answered that one 1, 2, 3. 2 favorite Scions. I don't care enough about any of them to say I have 2 favorites. I just like the story. I'm not attached to any of them like that, so I don't really care. And then there's another one here. And then there's an explanation about the whole hunt PM. No. They do the same thing every time. It's the exact same person. They do the same thing every time. There's no reason trying to figure it out anymore. It's just weird. That's all there is to it. And then more comments about the casual stuff from last week, and I think that's it. All right, apologies if I missed the question, but I wanted to, like I say, keep this to about 35-ish minutes, and I think I managed to accomplish that. So I'm going to get this video rendering, and I'm going to cook some food for my 10-year partnerversary tomorrow. So thank you, everyone, for watching. If you have a question, be sure to throw it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and again, stay tuned for whatever information we get out of Dawn Trial. We're waiting on the new character creator, aren't we? They said May 23rd or like within a week. We might get that this week. That's another video for the week. So yeah, and anything else about Dawn Trail that comes out. Anyway, I'm going to go get ready for my partnerversary tomorrow, 7 a.m. PST. Be there. Literally right as this video releases, actually. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.